You've felt it for a long time, that quiet, uncomfortable sense that your life is moving on a different clock. While others rush forward, careers launched early, identities neatly defined, success displayed like a finished portrait, you move slowly. You question. You hesitate. You turn inward when the world demands speed. And somewhere deep inside, a painful thought repeats itself. Why am I not where I should be by now? You don't say this out loud. You carry it silently. And that silence makes it heavier. You may have been called late, lost, or unfocused, maybe subtly, maybe cruelly, or maybe you've learned to say those words to yourself. You watch timelines unfold, achievements stacked by age, milestones measured by numbers, and you measure yourself against them, even though something inside you resists that measurement. And here is the paradox you've never been taught to see. What if your delay is not a failure of ability, but a demand of depth? Some personalities are not built to succeed early, not because they are weaker, but because they are more complex, more inward, more layered. You are not designed to move fast before you understand who you are. You are designed to become before you arrive. This is uncomfortable in a world that rewards speed over meaning. You feel the tension every day, the pressure to perform before you are ready, to choose paths that don't feel true, to present certainty when your inner life is still forming. And so you withdraw, you reflect, you doubt, not because you lack ambition, but because something in you refuses to live a borrowed life. That refusal has a cost: loneliness, misunderstanding, periods of stagnation that feel like standing still while everyone else runs. But here is the truth rarely spoken. Many of the most impactful lives do not bloom early. They mature slowly, invisibly, beneath the surface, like roots growing deep before anything appears above ground. If you are listening to this, it's likely because you recognize yourself here. You sense that your inner world is unusually intense, that your questions are heavier than most, that success, as defined by society, has never fully satisfied you, even when you tried to chase it. And that makes you feel out of place. But being out of place is not the same as being off path. There is a kind of personality that must wrestle with itself before it can face the world. A personality that must confront doubt, contradiction, fear, and meaning long before it can translate potential into achievement. These personalities often look lost in their early years, but they are not lost. They are incubating. You are not behind. You are early in a different journey. This video is not here to motivate you with empty reassurance. It is here to explain something far more unsettling and far more hopeful. Why certain rare personalities almost have to succeed later in life. Why early success would actually damage them. And why the struggles you carry now may be shaping a form of success that is quieter, deeper, and more enduring than anything built too soon. As we move forward, you may feel discomfort. Some parts of this reflection will confront your self-doubt. Others will challenge the way you've judged yourself. Stay with it, because clarity does not arrive by avoiding what feels true. And if at any moment you feel seen, truly seen, pause for a second. Let that recognition settle. Then gently support this work by liking the video, not as approval, but as acknowledgement. It helps these ideas reach others who are silently questioning themselves too. Now, let's begin where it truly starts. With the reason you never quite fit into the world's timing in the first place. You have always sensed it. The world seems calibrated for a type of person you are not. From an early age, you noticed how easily others adapted. They absorbed expectations, mirrored values, followed scripts that promised approval and momentum. They learned quickly what to say, how to act, which version of themselves earned reward. And somehow they seemed comfortable doing it. You were different, not louder, not weaker, just less willing to move without understanding why. You felt the friction early on, in school, in social spaces, in environments where speed mattered more than depth and certainty mattered more than truth. You were expected to decide quickly who you were going to be, to choose a direction before you had explored the terrain inside yourself. And when you hesitated, when you questioned, when you pulled inward instead of charging ahead, it was interpreted as a flaw. You learned that your way of being did not translate well into early validation. Your personality is oriented inward. You reflect before you act. You feel before you define. Meaning matters to you more than momentum. And this creates a fundamental mismatch with a world that rewards external clarity over internal coherence. You are not slow because you lack intelligence. You are slow because you refuse to move without alignment. This kind of personality often develops in tension. You are constantly negotiating between the outer world's demands and your inner world's resistance. You sense when something is hollow. You feel when a path is wrong, even if it looks right on paper. And that sensitivity, while invaluable later in life, is a liability early on, because early success requires adaptation. Late success requires integration. You likely spent years feeling like an observer in your own life, watching others advance while you stood at a distance, analyzing, questioning, trying to understand what everyone else seemed to accept without thought. You may have tried to force yourself to fit, to adopt goals that weren't yours, to silence your doubts. And when you did, something inside you resisted, quietly, persistently. That resistance is not laziness, it is psychological integrity, but integrity is rarely rewarded early. So instead, you internalized a painful narrative that you were behind, that something was wrong with you. That if only you could be more decisive, more confident, more conventional, your life would finally start. Yet what you didn't see was this. While others were building structures in the outer world, you were building complexity in the inner one. You were developing self-awareness, emotional nuance, symbolic thinking, a capacity to hold contradiction without collapsing into certainty. These traits are invisible, they don't produce immediate results, and they often isolate you because depth is lonely in a shallow environment. You may have felt misunderstood even by people who cared about you. They tried to encourage you, sometimes kindly, sometimes impatiently, to just pick something, to stop overthinking, to trust the process. But what they couldn't feel was the intensity of your inner life, the weight of your questions, the fear of betraying yourself by choosing a life that wasn't true. You were not afraid of failure, you were afraid of false success. That fear kept you from moving quickly, and it cost you. Opportunities passed, comparisons intensified, doubt grew louder. But something else was happening beneath the surface, something no one applauds, but everything meaningful depends on. You were becoming conscious. Rare personalities are not designed to excel in systems that prioritize efficiency over essence. You are not meant to fit seamlessly into pre-existing molds. You are meant to reshape them later. But reshaping anything requires that you first understand it deeply, and understanding takes time. This is why your early years feel heavy. You are carrying questions most people postpone until midlife, questions about purpose, identity, meaning, authenticity. You confront them early, not by choice, but by nature. And that confrontation slows you down, but it also protects you. Because those who rush ahead without ever asking these questions often pay for it later, with burnout, emptiness, or a life that looks successful but feels alien. You, on the other hand, are paying the price up front, in uncertainty, in delay, in solitude. This chapter of your life is not about achievement. It is about formation, and formation is rarely visible, rarely praised, rarely understood. If this resonates deeply, take a moment to support the channel by subscribing. Not for content, but for continuity. Because what you are exploring here is not information, it is orientation. And this journey unfolds over time, In the next chapter, we go deeper into what truly occupies these early years for rare personalities. Not external failure, but an intense inner struggle, one that most people never face consciously. A struggle with the shadow you carry inside. You may not always see it, but it's there, quiet, persistent, the shadow that follows you wherever you go. This isn't some vague philosophical concept. It's a reality you live with daily. Your shadow is not just a collection of fears or doubts. It's the hidden part of yourself, those elements that are so deeply ingrained, so tightly bound to your identity, that they often feel like you. It's the part of you that is invisible, misunderstood, and rejected by both you and the world, and yet it shapes everything you do, even if you're unaware of it. The shadow is often the cause of your internal turmoil, the dissonance between what you are capable of and what you've allowed yourself to be. It's that nagging sense of something's missing, even when everything on the outside seems perfectly fine. You feel like you're standing at the edge of who you could be, but something is holding you back. What's holding you back? It's your shadow. We all have a shadow. But for those of you with rare personalities, your shadow isn't just some distant, shadowy figure lurking in the corner. No, for you, it's alive. It challenges you. It speaks to you in whispers that you can't ignore. It clouds your judgment. It demands that you confront it even when you'd rather look away. You've probably experienced this. You've tried to move forward, to chase success, to align yourself with the world's expectations, but each time you take a step, there's that voice. A voice of doubt, a voice that tells you you're not good enough. That voice might take the form of past failures, of old stories others told you about who you should be, or even your own self-imposed limitations. Your shadow is born from those moments. The moments you were too afraid to speak your truth. The moments when you compromised who you are to fit in. The moments when you doubted your worth, questioned your potential, or rejected your true path. And now, it clings to you. Not as a distant memory, but as a weight, a part of you that won't let you move forward until it's acknowledged. This struggle with the shadow doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. In fact, it's an essential part of your growth, because the shadow isn't something you can just ignore or wish away. To do so would be to live a life disconnected from who you truly are. And while society loves to reward those who project confidence, certainty, and clarity, those rare personalities, those like you, are tasked with something far more difficult. They must confront their own darkness before they can bring their full light into the world. This is where the inner work begins. But here's the twist. Your shadow isn't here to destroy you. It's here to transform you. It's a necessary part of your individuation process. The journey toward becoming yourself requires facing what you've kept hidden, what you've been too afraid to acknowledge. Because within the shadow lies a power you can't access until you embrace it. Every fear, every doubt, every uncomfortable feeling you've carried around is a key that will eventually unlock your potential, but only if you face it. At first, this confrontation may feel impossible. It may feel like everything inside of you is resisting. Your natural inclination might be to look away, to ignore the inner chaos, to find ways to bury it. But this struggle is a rite of passage. It's the very thing that shapes the rare personality you are becoming. You're not being held back because you're weak. You're being prepared to embrace your wholeness, to understand who you are beneath the surface. This battle with the shadow is uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've buried, often without even realizing it. These hidden parts are the roots of your deepest fears. They are often the source of your most profound strengths too. Think of it this way. Every time you resist the pull of your shadow, you deny yourself the chance to fully own your life. You deny yourself the opportunity to evolve. But every time you lean into that discomfort, when you stop running and start acknowledging the parts of you that make you uneasy, you begin the process of integration. The struggle with your shadow is not just a struggle with fear or doubt. It's a struggle with the parts of yourself you've been taught to reject, the parts of you that society tells you aren't good enough or acceptable. But in truth, these parts are the very key to your success. Because once you embrace them, once you integrate them into your being, you can't help but be whole, and only when you're whole can you truly step into your power. This battle doesn't happen in one day. It's not a quick fix. It's ongoing. It's a lifelong process. But with every step you take, with every moment you choose to face your shadow instead of hide from it, you build the foundation for the success that's waiting for you. Success that's authentic, powerful, and lasting. Now, take a moment. Breathe. You don't have to solve it all at once. You just need to start. And in the next chapter, we'll dive into what happens when that inner struggle begins to transform you, when the pieces start to fall into place and you realize something extraordinary is happening beneath the surface. The shadow's grip is loosening, isn't it? You've begun to understand it, to integrate its lessons, its challenges. And with that, something inside you shifts. The struggle, the friction, it starts to feel less like a battle and more like a beginning. This is where your journey takes a significant turn. What comes next is the process of individuation, a term coined by Carl Jung, but more than just a theory. For you, it's a lived experience, the slow, often painful but profoundly meaningful path toward becoming whole, toward fully integrating all the fragmented parts of yourself and becoming who you were always meant to be. You may not recognize it yet, but this process has already begun, even in the quiet, seemingly uneventful moments. Even when you thought you were stalled, stuck, or behind, individuation was quietly unfolding within you. It just needed time, because individuation doesn't operate on the world's schedule. It follows its own rhythm, one that's as unique as your fingerprint. And while everyone else around you is racing to fit into predefined molds, you've been engaged in a much deeper, more sacred work. Becoming yourself. This is not about becoming more successful in the traditional sense. It's about becoming authentic. It's about shedding the layers of societal expectation of who you were taught to be, and finally discovering who you are at your core. And that requires courage. In this phase of your journey, you may feel a profound pull toward your truth, toward things you've always known but have been too afraid to embrace, toward choices that reflect your true nature, even if they don't align with what others expect of you. And as you start to embrace these choices, the world around you may become more confusing, more uncertain, because your path is not linear, it is not mapped out in advance. You are forging it as you go. You may feel alone at times. You may question your decisions, your direction, or wonder if you're doing it wrong. But in truth, this is when you are most alive. Individuation is not a destination. It is a process, an ongoing unfolding. What you are experiencing now is the internal alignment that happens when you stop chasing the world's validation and begin seeking your own. This is the moment when you stop trying to fit in and start creating your own path. And yes, it feels disorienting. It feels raw. But it's also liberating. The more you lean into this journey of individuation, the more you'll recognize the subtle shifts inside yourself. You'll feel a deeper sense of self-awareness, a clearer understanding of your strengths and limitations. But perhaps most importantly, you'll start to feel something you've never truly felt before: self-trust. Self-trust doesn't come from external achievements. It doesn't come from ticking boxes on someone else's checklist. It comes from the quiet, unshakable knowing that you are becoming the person you were always meant to be, that you don't need to prove anything to anyone, that you are enough as you are on your own path. At this stage, you may start to see that the very things you once viewed as obstacles, your sensitivity, your introspection, your complexity, are actually your greatest strengths. They are the tools you've always needed to navigate this journey. They are the building blocks of your unique success, success that will come later in its own time. Individuation also brings with it an increasing sense of acceptance. You begin to accept the parts of yourself that you once rejected, the darker aspects, the uncertainties, the parts that made you feel out of place. And in this acceptance, you find power, you find your true voice, you find the courage to step into the world unapologetically. This doesn't mean that the process is easy. It's far from it. There will still be moments of doubt, moments where you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But remember, that is part of the process. Growth is never linear. It's messy. It's non-linear. It's filled with both beauty and discomfort. But that discomfort is the sign of your growth. It means you are stretching into new territories. It means you are becoming. As you continue on this path, the outer world will begin to take notice. Not because you've played the game the way it's been set up, but because you've found your own rhythm, your own pace. And when you find your own pace, success will come, not in the way others expect it, but in a way that is deeply meaningful to you. The time will come when you realize that you've built something more enduring than what the world usually celebrates. You've built a life that's truly yours. And that kind of success, the one that's rooted in your own authenticity, is a success that lasts. Now, as you stand at the threshold of this transformation, remember that this journey is ongoing. What lies ahead is not the final destination, but another stage of growth. And in the next chapter, we'll explore what that final stage of transformation looks like. What happens when you emerge from this process, fully aware of who you are, fully integrated and ready to meet the world on your own terms. You're getting closer to something, not just success, but true success, a kind that few people ever experience because it doesn't happen according to the world's timetable. It doesn't happen in a flash of recognition or a sudden rise to prominence. It happens gradually, quietly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you look back and realize you've arrived, not at an end, but at something deep, lasting, and meaningful. This kind of success is not the success that others celebrate in their loud, visible ways. It's not the type that is measured by the number of followers you have or the titles attached to your name. It's a quieter kind of success. A success that's born out of knowing yourself fully, integrating your strengths and weaknesses, and walking in alignment with your true nature. You have spent years, whether consciously or not, learning to navigate the world of external validation and internal contradiction. You have faced the tension between the expectations of others and the whisper of your own heart, trying to find a way to reconcile them. And it hasn't been easy. There have been moments of doubt, moments where you've questioned everything you've done. But slowly, you've moved through that. Slowly, you've learned what it means to be truly successful, not by chasing the fleeting applause of others, but by cultivating the inner peace that comes with knowing you're exactly where you're meant to be. This is why, for rare personalities like yours, success often comes later. Not because you are incapable, not because you're less than anyone else, but because your path requires more time. It requires time to truly know yourself, to face the dark corners of your psyche, to integrate your inner contradictions. Your success isn't just about the world acknowledging you. It's about you acknowledging yourself, your depth, your complexity, your authenticity. And this takes time, but the moment you begin to accept yourself fully, when you stop running from the hard parts of who you are and start embracing them, that's when the floodgates open. That's when success, not in the shallow worldly sense, but in the deep inner sense, becomes inevitable. It's not because you've suddenly become someone else. It's because you've become yourself. You've found the rhythm of your own life, and the external world starts to align with that inner harmony. But let's be clear, this kind of success doesn't look like the typical version of success. It doesn't come with accolades that are loudly celebrated, at least not at first. It's a success that feels quiet, rooted and grounded. It's success that reflects who you really are, not who others expect you to be. And because it is rooted in you, it is unshakable. You may still face challenges. People may still doubt you, question your decisions, or wonder why you're not chasing the typical markers of success. But here's the thing, it won't matter anymore. Because you will know deep down that what you have built, this life, this inner peace, this self-awareness, is far more valuable than anything the world typically measures. People will start to notice, not because you're trying to impress them, but because your presence will be different. You'll radiate a quiet confidence that only comes from being fully aligned with who you are. You'll begin to see the fruits of your labor, even if they don't come in the form of instant success. They will come in the form of meaningful relationships, deep fulfillment, and a sense of purpose that others can't help but admire. And when that success does finally appear on the external level, when others start to recognize your work, your wisdom, your contributions, it will feel earned, not because of how much you've sacrificed or how many hours you've worked, but because it's a natural extension of who you've become. Your success will be a reflection of your true self, not an image you've had to create or conform to. The rare personalities who achieve success later in life don't just find success for the sake of recognition. They find success because they've become the person they were always meant to be. And when they do achieve it, it doesn't feel like an accident. It feels like the most natural thing in the world, as though the world was simply catching up to the work they had already done within themselves. So as you move forward, remember this: your journey is different. It's not the quick, visible rise that others may experience, and that's okay. You are being shaped by the slow, steady process of becoming whole. And that, in the end, is a far more profound and sustainable kind of success. When your success comes, and it will be real. It will be the kind of success that stays with you because it is built on the foundation of your true self. And that success, though it may come later, will be far more enduring and meaningful than anything you could have achieved by rushing the process. You've always been on the right path. Now, all that's left is to step into the world, fully yourself, and watch the success that comes from that authenticity unfold in its own perfect time. So here you are, standing at the end of this reflection, and I want you to hear this clearly. If you've always felt like you're behind, perhaps that's the clearest sign that you're exactly where you're meant to be. The world is obsessed with speed, with quick results, fast tracking, and visible accomplishments. But the rare personality, the one who's built for true success, moves at a different pace. Your journey isn't about racing to a destination, it's about becoming. And that requires patience, it requires depth, and it requires trust. Trust that the work you've been doing on the inside will eventually manifest on the outside in ways that are far more meaningful and lasting than anything the world can measure. You are not behind. You are just on a different timeline. A timeline that is slower, yes, but more enduring. You are creating something deeper, more substantial. You are building a life that is aligned with who you truly are, not who others expect you to be. And that is the most important kind of success there is. So take heart. Your time will come, and when it does, it will be worth the wait. Because the success that comes from being yourself, from embracing your true, unique path, is a success that lasts a lifetime.